guys ready to get this anime voice acting roundtable underway? I love that we do not have a roundtable, but that's okay. That's fine. All right, let's bring out our panelists at this time. Ooh, how about up first? Let's have Aaron Dismuke. How's it going? Did you? Oh, you got your mic. Perfect. Awesome. How you doing, Aaron?
Oh, I'm doing swell. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm swell as well.
That's great.
Yes. Are we all swell? Perfect. All right, up next, let's bring out Jason Liebrecht.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing? Are you swell as well?
Is this your seat?
Sure, but we can play musical chairs. I'm not picky.
Okay, well, I'll sit here next to Aaron. How's it going?
Good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Much better now. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, let's bring out Ryan Colt Levy.
Whoa, there's a lot of you. Hi, guys.
How you doing?
The lights are bright.
The lights are bright. Oh, that one's really, right there. Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic.
Hi, everybody.
I'd share these with you, but
Can we just
I think we'd have to break them. Yeah, we'd have to break them in half.
We've already shared so many things. He makes me coffee. We have a very special
It's true.
relationship.
It's true.
He's not as mean as he plays on TV.
I know, it's weird.
All right, and rounding out our panel, she is the fabulous Stephanie Young.
Woo!
Hi. Well, hello, guys.
Hey, how's it going, Stephanie?
I'm good. We're in good company here.
Indeed.
We became friends last week,
We did.
and it was like immediate. We talked music and
Music.
all the good things.
We became friends just a moment ago.
Just a moment ago.
Even though I've been hearing your name for 20 years.
Right. We know
Yeah.
each other's names for sure. And now we finally get to meet.
Indeed. It's
This
lovely.
is great.
Yes.
This is how weird
All
this
of
job
us.
is that we can do this with each other for so long and be like, I'm just meeting this person.
Well, welcome. Okay, so you said you guys talk music, so I have to know any particular artist or bands that we need to know about?
Our bands.
Okay. Yes, of course.
No, I'm a pop jazz artist out of Dallas and a writer. And if you are in the interwebs and listen to Spotify and Apple, we've got music out there, as does this guy.
As I take a sip of
As you
water.
take
Pause for water.
I before I did any of this, I was actually a singer and a guitar player in bands. I thought that was supposed to be my life. We were called Braves. We spelt it funny so that Google was your friend. And we made records and toured and did the whole thing. And then when that completely flipped, suddenly this happened, which makes no sense in the world.
And you came to us.
I'm
We're so
very
glad.
grateful to be here.
This is easier, right? It's like not having, 4 or 5 significant others.
That's exactly what I say. Being in a band is like being married to like all of your best friends.
That's exactly why that failed for me, but a little earlier. It failed for me in college.
You're a musician too. So many of us
yes, ma'am.
are.
There's something weird about that I've noticed, that there's very much in this industry. I think maybe because we're used to studios and we're used to collaborating with lots of different kinds of people, and there are times that it feels like band practice or something to that effect.
It's true.
It's really cool.
Awesome.
With better mics.
Sorry, we've totally taken over this panel.
Not-
We don't have to haul
You're
any
allowed.
gear.
No, you're fine.
Oh,
Aaron,
no more gear.
No gear.
Any musical prowess as well?
I can whistle.
That's important.
That is actually a rarefied
Yeah,
skill set
'cause
in our
I
line of
can't,
work.
yeah.
Like often we've got to have stunt whistlers
Yeah.
come in if our characters whistle. I cannot whistle. Well, I can, but it's not consistent.
Do you know Joe Zija?
No.
Because he can whistle. Like
Can
he
he whistle,
literally
whistle?
has a whistle demo. It's incredible.
Interesting.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I have to admit, I
But-
can't whistle. I can't do the loud, get your attention whistle. I've
So-
always been sad about that.
Have you been the stunt whistler for anything you've been on?
No.
Well then, okay.
What
Do
use
you
is
whistle while you work?
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes.
Inadvertently when you say your S's, right?
Yeah. Actually, yes. I've got a little gap in my teeth.
I love it so much. Well, this is super exciting, and I guess before, this is super cool. Listen, I love it. I love that these kind of panels where maybe you are meeting for the first time, like you said, you guys are all in the same industry, in the same career, and you never really know what's going to happen during these panels. So these are always my favorite. So no, this is great.
That's so cool.
You live for the chaos.
Yes, we love that. I think the last time we were talking about fake plants or something really super comic books and stalkers.
What kind of fake plants were we talking about?
I don't know,
Because I don't like fake plants making. Was I talking about how Toronto has a bunch of fake plants that the city's paid to put out in pots?
I didn't.
Boo Toronto.
There's a new
Send them hate
fact
mail.
for those who don't know.
No,
Fun fact.
It was the guy backstage had been watering a fake plant for most of his life, and he didn't know until he
Just thought he had a green thumb. He's like,
Right.
oh man, I'm really good at taking care of this
Yeah.
plant.
So
And then,
good at this.
because of his love, it became real.
Well, now I want to go.
is like-
I'm wondering
it's
where
the
the water
Pinocchio story,
went.
right?
Pooling in there.
With
With a very
Anime.
stinky
I
plant.
hope Tim Burton directs this one.
Yeah.
Is he available? Do we need a whistler? I don't know.
We'll need a stunt whistler.
We have Aaron.
I guess kind of to get things going, I just kind of wanted to know what were some of your fandoms growing up, and maybe in addition to music as well.
Fandoms, you said?
Yeah.
What were you into?
I mean, I was and still am a huge video game and comic book nerd, and I mean, movies were like my first love. My whole family, like, we used to get together and literally, like, every night we would have a movie or something that we would watch together. And I was also that kid who had HBO on in the den when I shouldn't have, and just walked in and saw all kinds of crazy stuff, which is probably why I do what I do now. But I mean, I've forever been obsessed with, like, Spider-Man. I love Marvel. I love DC. I literally got to just meet a hero of mine who's a comic book artist out there, who I have a tattoo of some of his art on my arm. But yeah, I'm just kind of a fan of all of this stuff. So it's surreal to get to be a part of it, because I never thought that I'd get to be on the other side. And it hasn't taken away my nerdiness. Like, it's almost made it even more like of a loud experience, because I can really be excited about sharing it with you guys. So it's really cool. What about you guys?
What about me? Oh.
Other nerdy fandom stuff?
I like Ryan was it's the movies that got me here ultimately. I was raised primarily by my father from the age of 3. He is from Chile, and the way that he
Whistled
learned
on your
English-
S, by the way.
Did I whistle on my ass?
Anybody catch that?
And the way he learned English was by going to the movies. And so when I was at very much an inappropriate age, he took me to see some pretty intense stuff. He even would get in fights with other audience members who thought it was inappropriate for him to have a 6-year-old in the R-rated film or whatever. But you didn't mess with my dad too much. He'd be like, he's my son, you don't mess with me, okay, buddy? Sit down. And then they'd sit down. Which already explains a lot about me, I guess.
That's so good.
I was raised with intensity. And then when he was a little bit worried when I wanted to be an actor after the music didn't work out, I was like, you did this, dude. You're the reason that I did this. You're the reason I want to be Roy Batty. I want to be Rutger Hauer's part in Blade Runner.
Yes.
I want to be a Blade Runner. I want to be, like all these things were so cool to me. That first Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was my first
my language.
VHS tape. I wore it out. I broke it.
Did you like, because before cosplaying was even a concept to me or anything, like when I was a kid and I had any free time, like any movie or character that I loved, like whether it was from Star Wars or comic books or anything, like I would just find like random stuff in my closet, in any part of the house that would kind of be a makeshift thing, and like suddenly I'd put together a thing and I'm like, well, I'm Boba Fett for the afternoon, or whatever. Or like I remember seeing Jurassic Park and being obsessed, and I would just dress up as Alan Grant and go dig up holes in my yard all day long and just find fossils.
Yeah, I did the archaeologist too. But, but it was indie. I was Indiana Jones.
Oh, no, I did that too.
That was that game.
The Indiana Jones, we had one of those automatic garages. So
You do the hat thing?
So I would do
hat back?
yeah, so I would do the thing, like if you guys have seen an Indiana Jones movie, there's always like traps and things. So like I would hit the button on my garage door, open it up, and then I would hit again and it would like close, and then I'd like wait till it was like just the end, I'd like run, do the roll under and grab my thing,
You don't do that anymore, man. Now that they got the electric eye for safety, so
yeah.
it no longer,
I liked the fear.
There's a new film coming out soon, which is pretty exciting, right?
That's
the
so
next
cool.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I am excited about that.
And John Rhys Davies is here. This is all coming full circle.
Oh, that's cool.
I love this.
How do you guys feel about it when they make them younger? Like when they artificially...
CG?
Yeah.
Looks weird so
It's a
far.
little strange, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the notion of it, though. I like the notion that somebody can revisit in that way.
It is a cool idea. I don't think I've seen it yet where they've done it in a way that I'm like, they've nailed
Well, they did it in one of the Star Wars movies where Christopher Lee had passed. Was it Christopher Lee?
He did pass.
But he played one of the lieutenants in the Empire. And they had another actor who did a voice match.
You're right.
They had him play him, and then they put the old face on this dude, and it looked real.
That actually was pretty cool. You're right.
But I remember like really looking hard at that to see if I could figure it out, and I could not. I mean, it looks like he was back from the grave.
Yeah, that's actually really trippy. Yeah.
I think it's kind of exciting to see where technology can take us. It is a little odd, but then we just
As long as you don't take my
acknowledge what
voice,
it
don't
is.
take my freaking voice.
That's right. Just don't take our voices.
Yeah. Well, boo. I'm with you. What about you, Stephanie? What were some of your fandoms?
You know, it's interesting growing up, obviously, storytelling and film and books. I love to read. And it's funny how I think for us, we see these things bubbling up and surfacing when we're children. I was always on the coffee table with a hairbrush singing and doing that. And I loved She-Ra.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Hello Kitty. I mean, there's a whole different ballgame, but I also loved Indiana Jones big time. And I played outside a lot. So I was always creating worlds and fantastical worlds outside and doing that. But it's interesting how I never thought I would be here, but I'm so glad that it worked out that way. You know?
Stephanie, do you have any children?
I do.
You do?
I have 2.
Do they go outside in the way that you did?
I try so hard to make this
'Cause I've got a
happen.
14
Now they
and
do.
man,
Now
it's
they
not
say
like-
the term is called touching grass.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is
the
that
term
it?
is go outside and touch
My kid
some
does
grass.
not want to go outside. I don't know.
My kids love the
You
outside.
couldn't get me inside.
Would-
I'd get in trouble for not
right.
coming in on time.
Right.
My son, I'm like, I gotta force him.
It's
I gotta lock him out.
It's just I say we embrace technology, but then we monitor it, right? It's tough. But for parents now, this is a whole nother panel, right? It's a whole thing. I grew up on land and acreage and space.
Me too.
And I want that again. But I live in the city of Dallas, which is wonderful. And it's funny, my kids learned how to really climb trees well during the pandemic. And we have a few big magnolias in our yard. And so they started doing that. But we were like, utilize the front yard because we're all locked in at home. And we don't have acreage, so climb the magnolia tree. So, and now they like to eat dinner in the tree.
Oh, that's amazing.
Is that fun?
That is cute.
I mean, Taco Tuesday in the magnolia tree. Luckily, they have some balance. They're good.
What about you, Aaron? Did you also want to be Indiana Jones?
I did get to watch those. I was grounded like a lot growing up.
Not you. You?
I don't know why.
Never would have thought.
I don't remember what I did. I'm sure I was very bad.
Blanked out all the trauma.
Yeah. So I ended up reading a lot. That was the one thing I could not be grounded from because reading's good for you. And so I grew up reading quite a bit.
Dad never took away your lights. At one point, he took away my lights in my room.
That is hardcore.
The
Well,
booklight?
to be fair, the lights got taken away because I threw a little fit after I got grounded from, he took my stereo and he took a bunch of other stuff out of my room. And I went in my room and I smashed a light. And then he came and he's like, all right, no lights either.
Yeah.
You could at least read, now you cannot even read. Anyway.
That's a great chess match between you two.
Dude. Well, until I was 15, and then I was his size. So
And then the tide changed, yeah.
So
I'm just curious, what does he think of you now with your career and everything?
Oh man, so my father actually, he came to Fan Expo Dallas last year. My dad's gonna be 85 next week. And he's still going strong. He's crazy.
Taking lights out of his room.
He was an architect by trade, but prior to that, he was a painter and a sculptor, and he's still a painter and a sculptor. So,
an artist.
So his place, he lives alone, which we worry about, but he's doing okay. And his place is like an artist's hoarder's museum. It's like
fascinating.
Layer
That
upon layer of
passion.
paintings and sculptures hanging from the ceiling. And I'm not even kidding. And don't
your
take
daddy.
your
Sounds
shoes
awesome.
off because your feet are going to get really dirty in his house.
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't take showers there anymore. But his review of Fan Expo is pretty hilarious. Chris Sabat is one of my best friends who helped me get into this industry. And he likes me to read my father's texts in my father's voice to him.
Yes, please.
Because it's pretty funny. It's going to take me a minute to find the review. So somebody else talk for a minute while I look for this.
Okay, I'll do some book recommendations. I grew up liking Lord of the Rings. The Golden Compass series is called the His Dark Materials series. I was really into that.
Didn't they just make a show for that recently?
They did, yeah.
Was it
I
any
haven't
good?
seen it. I want to. And he actually, Philip Pullman, just came out with a sort of prequel series that is attached to that series, and it's like over a decade later.
Whoa.
Yeah. Chronicles of Narnia was really good.
Oh, big fave. Big fave.
What is it? Is it John Green who did Looking for Alaska and all the super sad teen romance books? I devoured those. John Green. If you want to like get really sad and wistful.
You ever just want to get sad?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get that catharsis going.
I read a lot of Stephen King when I was way too young for it.
Oh no.
That's fair. I like knowing that you text with your dad this much. This is how far back you have to. That's impressive for an 85-year-old man. My parents.
Well, if I text him with an actual question, I'm not going to get an answer. If I inadvertently pocket dialed him going through security coming here, and I mean he tried to call me 10 times afterwards, and finally I'm like, Dad, I'm trying to travel. I'm sorry. But he still leaves a message every time, like, well, you just tried to call me, so I don't really know why you're not answering now. Like, I'm like, look at your freaking text, man. And I'm never going to look at the text because, and then later I'll see him. I'm like, I texted you. Oh, you did? Let me check my iPad. I'm like, no, it's like 3 weeks ago now, dude. You don't have to look at it now. No, I want to say that I'm getting them. Maybe there's a problem.
That's amazing. My dad, on the other hand, has like become a master of like all the apps, like because both my parents, they've been separated for a long time, but they both individually have like not just come to understand what anime is, but literally they watch everything I'm in, like the full shows, and my dad. Week to week, his experience with Chainsaw Man was hysterical. Because he's always been like kind of the more like dirty joke one out of the family, and like we're a very loving, like mushy family, but we all have our crass, silly, kind of crazy side. And so like all of the Denji humor, he would just text me like cackling because he just was not prepared for it. But it's so funny because we, like I said, we grew up watching movies and all this stuff, and I never thought I would actually get to have this as a career. And my parents are living so incredibly vicariously through my experience. Like they constantly want to know about all of you guys. Like when I come to these cons, they're like, I saw this picture in this person's cosplay. Like they know everything. So like they're also fans of all of you just as much as they are like excited for me to get to do this.
Please tell them we said hi.
I will. No, seriously, they'll be very excited.
Collectively from all of us. So while we wait for you to find this message, should we take the first question?
Yeah.
Please.
He's still scrolling. All right. What's your
God, I may not find it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You got time. We got
The very end, the
30
bookend.
minutes.
Dude.
What's your name?
My name is Rich, and I want to know, why are you super duper famous?
That is a very good question. That is a wonderful question.
We don't have the answer though.
No.
I mean,
I also don't know that we are.
yeah, super duper.
duper.
You gotta cross the super duper and replace it with like a sorta niche famous. Yeah. On occasional weekends, we get to experience something like fame. Yeah.
Go home and reality kicks in.
Yeah, I got recognized once outside of a convention, and it was at a Kroger.
Oh.
And it was like 10
Which is
years
a
ago.
supermarket.
And I took a selfie with the cashier, and that's the one time I've been famous. Other than
it's
that,
funny.
I go into a strange portal.
Well, what's funny, because what I think about is like our characters are famous, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the way that I see it, actually one of my favorite things to do, like I have this little Pochita pin, and like a lot of my, like I have a lot of like, because I'm such a nerd for this stuff too, like I said, and I love Chainsaw Man before I even got to be a part of it. So I'll just have this stuff on me, and I'll go, somewhere in public, like to a supermarket or something, and I won't even be thinking about it, and someone will be like, oh my God, like, and they'll point it out, like, it's just getting everywhere now, but I won't say that I'm a part of it. I'll just be like, yeah, isn't it so cool? Like, and they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, are you reading? Are you watching? And we'll just kind of get to gush for a minute, and then I'll just kind of go do my thing. But it's so cool just to know how much people are loving this, how much you guys are loving this. Like, it's so exciting.
I was at a Lush One Piece. I voiced Sneaker Robin in One Piece. And, thank you. Thank you.
Most into you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. No, but there was a period of time where there was a line of bath bombs for all the straw hats, and so I went into the store with my daughter, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to get a picture of us by the bath bombs because I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Like that's so different.
Talk
And-
about something really cool. You know that Jamie Lee Curtis has name dropped your character as the coolest.
Yeah, that was
That's
pretty
pretty dope.
awesome. Yeah, I know. She said, I love, or I want to be Nico, or I was a little nervous. But yeah, she loves Nico Robin in One Piece. But I was sitting there taking a picture with the bat bombs with my daughter, and the employee came up and thought, why are you taking pictures with the bath bombs?
I've gone to like stores and bought like, you know, like to like downtown LA or something, and I'll find Chainsaw Man merch and I'll buy like a lot of it because I'll be like, oh, I want to get this for Sarah and this for Reagan, and like I'll roll up to the counter and they're like, so you really like this show, huh? They're like,
oh yes.
They're like, my favorite one was like I brought stuff and someone, the cashier was like, so who's your favorite character? I was like, Power.
Good choice, good choice.
Great question. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Riley, and my question is actually, because a lot of you do My Hero Academia, what villain would you trust to actually hold your drink if you need to step away for a second?
Oh, this guy right here, because I drink coffee and I need it to stay warm. And I trust him with my coffee already, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would have to give my family another shot. Shigaraki.
Oh.
He probably won't change.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It would be that thing where like you go to hand him the drink and he would just let it drop.
Like, but I'm your, never mind,
Yeah.
fine. He's still looking for the comment.
Gosh, I just don't
He
see
talks
it.
so freaking much. Okay, I'm gonna give you an approximation of this real quick.
Yeah.
So it started with, oh, Jace, it was crazy. It was like a Fellini film. Everybody walking with such purpose and all these derelicts. He calls cosplayers derelicts.
That's amazing.
He's like,
oh my
but
God.
all with the accoutrement that they come with, like just peppering it with like words like accoutrement and like
Calling it a Fellini
film. Like it was just magnificent, Jace.
Magnificent. Can we all meet your dad if he comes to another
Absolutely,
con?
absolutely.
We have to meet your
Gotta
dad.
bring
Meet
him
your
I would
dad
love
on
to. I would
on
love
a
to.
Panel.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh my God.
Well, one of my favorite moments, Chris Sabat took my dad and myself, and Charles Martinet was in town to work on the Dragon Ball movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so we all went to Uchi in Dallas, and my father has no idea who anybody is. He's known Chris for 20 years because we're friends, but Charles is super sweet to my dad. I don't know, it was just a trip. Just, I mean, like,
that's
to
so
see them, like, to him kind of, he's babying my dad, sitting next to him in the booth, and I'm like, this is so weird. Do you need some more sake, Ernesto? Like, it was just so weird.
That's adorable.
We got a surreal life.
Yeah, we really do.
I'm just
Beautiful
saying
world.
your life can be a perfect soap opera. I'm just an idea. I don't know.
I do like the
I'd let Twice hold my drink. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Can he duplicate the drink, too? I'm into that. What the
Yeah, I
hell?
don't mind if he tries.
So I'm realizing if you
Maybe
give
if
it
it's
to
in his
Mr.
mouth.
Compressed, you can travel with your beverages.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to
Yeah.
say, Compress is who I'd like to pack for me.
Yes, 100%.
I got you covered.
great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Hi, my name is Emma. Thank you all so much for being here. So when you get a new role, what kind of prep and research do you do before you get in the booth?
It kind of depends because sometimes you legitimately don't even know what you're working on until you walk into the booth.
Usually.
Yeah, like I know for me, I kind of go in two directions. Like sometimes I intentionally don't look anything up because I like the idea of experiencing it kind of raw. And since the way that our job is done with cold reading anyway, I'm used to kind of playing, we're all used to playing that emotional like chess immediately with dialogue, but I love exploring sometimes if I don't know where it's gonna be. Like when we worked on the My Hero film and I got Rhodey, I looked up the character, but there was nothing to be told. So like all I got was a sense of his energy and realizing Colleen is just incredibly good at casting people who are just inherently kind of like their characters. And that was the thing of like literally session to session. I was just experiencing all of that moment to moment. And like I was going through all of that in real time. But with Chainsaw Man, I had read that embarrassingly 4 times over before I even auditioned for it. Just like before the show was even gonna be a thing, just because I was a fan and was just very ready for when it showed up, and that one just because I'm so close to, I will continue to like kind of double back on, but sometimes it's fun to just go in blind.
I prefer it, honestly. I find that, those first couple takes, I feel like...
You overthink it too much otherwise?
No,
Oh, you
not
mean
that.
discovering the character?
Exactly. I feel like you get a very honest, immediate, a truthful reaction to what you see before you immediately. And I feel like if it's something you're reacting to, and you're actually reacting to it, I mean, maybe that's a little method, considering the artifice we're establishing, but that's my preference.
Well, it's interesting because we've both done theater and all that stuff. Have you guys done theater?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so there's that element of with theater, it's all about prep. You sometimes will rehearse for months at a time, and then still there's an element that's because it's alive, there's that uncertainty. So you almost get both ends of it from there, and it is weird because if we had to memorize lines, it would be a totally different experience, I think. But because we are working with it in front of us, you have that freedom to kind of feel it on the fly.
I have to go.
What happened?
I know. I have a flight.
Gotta catch a flight.
Will you do me a favor, beautiful girl at the mic with a pretty smile? Will you come up here and take our picture real fast? Thanks for coming, y'all.
My gosh, you guys are amazing.
Yeah,
We're gonna do a quick one, then we will continue talking.
We're gonna do a quick one. Come here, or here. We're gonna do this real fast. Let me get in here. All right, guys.
Get in here.
And Sparkle.
Oh, me too? Oh my
I love
gosh.
your sparkly hair.
Don't do that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all are awesome. And thank you so much.
Happy Young,
Thank you, my
everybody.
friend.
Happy young,
flight.
ladies and gentlemen.
Have
Yes.
a great end of your con. It was such a pleasure to meet you guys. Y'all are fantastic. Y'all continue with these amazing men.
Safe travels.
And lovely Heather.
It was
Thank
lovely
you.
meeting you
it
for
was
the
so
first
good to
time.
meet you. I can't wait to meet your dad.
Next time, we're going to have a drink.
I look forward to it. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Safe flight.
Bye.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
What was?
This panel's just all kinds of crazy. We're bouncing all over the place. I
All right,
love
now
it.
we got another actor joining us.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I was curious about going from voice acting to directing scenes. What is the process? How does that happen from because I know a lot of voice actors sometimes direct scenes from the show that they're voicing in. I was wondering how that works, going from voice acting to starting to direct scenes itself.
I don't know if any of us directed anything. Have you?
Yeah, I've directed.
I
a
haven't
few
yet, so
shows.
I will opt out of this one.
Have you?
Not officially, but I've taken over.
Oh. I'm curious.
Well, I've had a few scenarios where I'm working with somebody who's a guest director on a property that I've been working with I've been this character for multiple years. And so in that circumstance, typically people are pretty cool. They're not going to try and run over somebody who's got more experience and knowledge about the situation. But if they try to, I'm pretty good at not allowing that. And I haven't had many standoffs. Typically, if I make a stand, people are like, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of that transition.
You directed me, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good time. It was Nambaka.
Nambaka.
Yeah.
Nambaka.
Honestly, we weren't the most consistent about
Potato,
which
potato.
syllable to hit.
Right.
Yeah, we
right.
said potato a couple times.
Indeed. Potato's not bad. I love potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes are delicious. Yeah. I don't know. So
Wait to meet my other fire boy. That's right.
yeah, he was another fire boy. Yeah. The gist of it is that if you're going to be directing, you are basically taking all the experience you've had as an actor, you're thinking about the times that you struggled with things, and you try to remember what got me through it, what direction did I receive that helped me out, and you basically just throw back what's been thrown at you for all the years that you've been training. The other thing is you actually definitely need to have studied the text or the manga or the show and watched the episodes in advance. You can't just, the reason that actors can experience it and be in the moment and not watch in advance is because the director did that for them. And the director knows that if there's some plot twist that is actually part of a character's backstory, the director can tell you that or not tell you as needed.
Well, and if you
control the tone too of just all the actors.
Totally. And, talking about what you're talking about, like Mike McFarlane, for instance, he directs a lot of good things, among them Attack on Titan. So he knows that both Bryce and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So he tells us what's happening, but he leaves out enough to keep it the way we like it so he gets the best performance out of us. And also, there is room, believe it or not, for improvisation in what we do. And those of us that have established a long-term relationship and a comfort level with the director, like I have with Mike, if I feel like something's been written in a way that Zeke wouldn't necessarily say it that way, I'll change it on the fly. And sometimes I'll change it in a way that doesn't jive with stuff that I don't know yet. And he's like, that's great, but we got to do that again. You got to go back to the way it was written. And the reason is I can't tell you. I'm sorry, but trust me. And I'm like, okay. And I trust him because he's my friend and we've worked together for,
And you know
2
that he's
decades
looking
now.
out for you and he's
Indeed.
going for the best thing.
Plus, he's got he wants it to be
He
the best thing.
cares so much. I mean, there was so much we got to do with Chainsaw Man in that regard. Like he knew that I had, been fully studied up, and he like the freedom, like you're talking about, of improvisation. Like we got away with a lot of funny, weird improvisational stuff in Chainsaw Man that, like, some of the things we didn't even expect to be like big responses from people, like just one line of just Denji being like, yes, like got like the most insane, So it's so funny how, like, just playing and trusting each other, and the director understanding the space. Like he would play me clips of other actors sometimes that like had recorded their parts just because he was so happy with how it was all coming together, and he'd be like, you gotta fucking hear this, and he'd play me Sarah, and she'd be going completely off, and it was extraordinary. Yeah.
Very cool. What a wonderful question. Thank you so much. All right, what's your name?
My name is Miles, and to ask all three of you is, what has been your favorite moment or scene to voice in any of your projects?
Wow.
Off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is when Senku puts Tsukasa into a cryogenic sleep in Dr. Stone. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet. That happens.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And it's very moving because Senku just talks a bunch of gibberish at him. He talks about how he thinks that the mushrooms in the Mario games are magic mushrooms. And it's just one of those cute, random things. It's like you're talking to someone who's dying, basically, and you're just trying to take their mind off it, and you say whatever comes to mind, and that's what it happens to be. And I just thought it was adorable. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I've had too many to count. I can choose my favorite characters I've voiced. I can choose my favorite parts I've had. A lot of people have a hard time with that. They feel like it's choosing amongst their children. I don't feel that way about it. But as far as the moments are concerned, I mean, if I'm lucky, I have a few of those moments, in an episode, or a few of those moments in the lifetime of a show. Off the top of my head, a couple would be, most recently, Dobby's Dance. That reveal was... Man, I've been waiting on that for... I knew that information for 3 years, and
so good.
That was rough. I mean, literally, Crunchyroll, we do marketing, and a lot of you have heard me say this, but they would send a marketing person just to watch me and make sure I didn't open my mouth. Like, I'm not even kidding. In New York Comic Con, they had a dude sitting in the back of the room, just kind of like...
He's really tall, so you could see
He's
him.
almost mouthing my words, and at the end, the guy was new. He's like, "Man, you're really good at talking a lot and saying nothing." I'm like, "Thanks to you guys, thank you."
Because I'm terrified.
So that was gratifying on so many levels and memorable on so many levels, in part because I felt like I've been training my whole life for that moment. But there's others too. Like, I don't know if anybody's seen a show called Talked Op Destiny, but there's this. Like, in the very beginning, there's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful monologue, him just talking about music, and it's in the very beginning of the series.
I remember it, yeah.
Before he's going to play and basically bring the monsters down.
Yeah.
Unintentionally. But the point is that, I don't know, I love, there's something very satisfying about having a moment like that it gives you chills while you're doing it.
100%.
And to do a big long pass like that, that's my favorite. Like to get a nice
live in
chunk.
a moment for. Yeah.
And again, director helps a lot. Caitlin Glass was the director of that. She's somebody I'm very comfortable with, and vice versa. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. I could answer this question for the whole time. I'll stop.
I think I have two that come to mind. One was there's a scene in the My Hero film World Heroes Mission where Rhodey and Deku are having a conversation in a cave that was really, really special. And similar to what you're saying about like doing something that like even now when I watch it, I still get the chills from it. There's a scene in the first episode of Chainsaw Man where right after Denji and Pochita make their contract with each other, and he wakes up in the dumpster, he kind of has this like moment to himself where he, this horde of zombies are running at him, but he's having this really introspective, deep kind of moment of mourning his friend and trying to kind of understand the future ahead of him. And with the music and everything swelling, it's so incredibly beautiful and dark and chilling. And I still get like really affected by it.
Something I do want to throw out there. This is there's a unique thing about anime voice acting it's like the one advantage that we truly have over all other forms of acting for anime dubbing specifically, and that's that the music is there in our ears.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like getting chills and feeling things, a lot of that is because like we're speaking over a soundtrack, which you don't get to do for prelay video games. You don't get to do for filming a movie, to my knowledge. You don't get to do for...
You can ask if you're doing ADR for the movie, you can ask them to put the M&E in your cans, and they will. Or sometimes they look at you like, who the hell are you, and what do you do? Like I do this, all right? So do what I asked you, and you're going to get the best out of me. Thanks. And they're usually pretty nice.
Nice.
Awesome. Wonderful question.
The question.
Thank you, Miles. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Jesse. I would like to ask if once the season's over or the series is over for like an anime, or like if it's not like officially like over, do you guys go back and read the manga? Or like
of like what we had worked on?
What you had already had worked on.
Sometimes, I mean, like in the case of like what I've said, I'm continuing to read, Chainsaw because I'm just obsessed with it. But I have not gone back and read any of My Hero yet. I've strictly watched it, and I'm actually waiting until it's all done to go back and read the whole thing. Some things I want to. It's also, we're very fortunate to be so busy with the work that we do that sometimes it's hard to even just carve out time for like the extra, chunk of time for that.
I got you.
Plus, I'm a single dad at home, man, so I don't have a lot of time to indulge But I have read one manga. It had nothing to do with anything I ever worked on. It was for the film Akira.
Oh, wow.
Akira. Akira. I said Akira when I was a kid and I first watched it. What am I supposed to say? I don't know.
I'm reading Dr. Stone, and I've also read. So I do a lot of script adaptation, and so I worked on Attack on Titan and Tokyo Ghoul, and I've read those mangas because I needed to do it to make sure I could adapt the translation properly. So yeah, I've read a decent amount of manga. Yeah.
I'm currently reading Sakamoto Days, and I freaking love it. If you guys haven't read that, it's wonderful.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bet, brother.
All right, what's your name?
Hey, I'm Caitlin, and I was wondering if you had any like tips or any tricks like of like voice acting for like beginners.
I mean, get into acting, honestly. Like, that's the most important part. Get on stage, any sort of public speaking, improvisation, anything that gets you to kind of flex and strengthen your acting muscles. Like, that's the key. Because when you think about it, I feel like personally that what we do with the constraints of voice acting, especially with dub work, ADR work, we've got a number of things that we're limited by, right? For one thing, we get one of our weapons. You're on stage or you're on screen, and you get your whole body, your eyes, everything to communicate with. When you're behind the mic, you got one thing. But you still got to communicate everything the same and as truthfully, and that is actually more difficult. And then when you throw it into anime, you start at this time, you end at this time, the characters flaps are a certain way, so everything hamstrings you a little bit. You got to do things a very specific way. So I think the best way to start is just to become a really badass actor.
I also think another weird thing that is like outside of all of the important things like acting classes and all of that, something that, because I came to this career later and I think is incredibly crucial, is live a life. Because the only way that you're going to genuinely be able to give characters real emotional foundations and spaces is if you've gone and experienced life, if you've loved and felt loss and felt great highs and lows and in-betweens and just had adventures and met all different kinds of people and explored yourself and your core and your confidence and your curiosities and your fears and all of those things, like who you are in your soul, in your heart, in your mind. That is what is important to being an actor. It's not about the external stuff. All of what you have inside of you is what's going to make you unique as an actor. So go and live a life and then give that back to your characters.
Well, the other thing I want to point out about you, I mean, you may not have been acting at that point in your life, but you never stopped performing.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, no, never,
And,
yeah.
and that, I mean, even that, like even in music, like any of it, I feel like is a valid form of expression that helps you be able to communicate.
I also still never stopped studying anyway. I would still read books on acting. I still, like, another thing that I always suggest, like, even with, if it's not specifically voiceover, like when you're watching a movie, don't just watch the movie. Sponge up that movie. Like when I watch films and I watch, actors performing, I'm looking at like their eyes dilating during performance. Like I'm looking at the nuances of the little, it's not just how they're speaking in their big movements, it's the tiny, tiny things. And like even in voiceover, though you have to like really put all that in there, the nuances and the little things, that's what we all respond to as viewers too. Those are the moments that are like, ooh, what was that? Like that's where that comes from.
And there's hidden inspirations in there too, I feel like. Like just last night, I found myself looking up Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer's death sequence in Blade Runner, which is one of my favorite moments I've ever seen in film history. And if you look into some of this stuff, like literally look it up, he improvised that. Like he had text.
Tears in the Rain.
But he did not use the text. He used pieces of the text.
Cool.
But ultimately, like he had the balls to stand up to Ridley Scott and be like,
and was like, I'm gonna do a poem.
Actually, he didn't even tell him apparently.
Yeah.
They just started rolling and he just started talking. And
like, we're not gonna cut
And man,
this.
that to this day, I've seen that more thousands of times than I can recall. But it's still talking about it, my eyes are tearing up. You know what I mean? Like find inspiration.
Yeah. That's such a good scene.
I'll throw in a couple of sort of brass tacks things. It's so important that you be good. Now more than ever, there are more people who are working super hard trying to get into these doors than there ever have been before. And so what they're saying is super important. As you're doing that, when you feel like you're ready to start actually making your first impressions with people in the industry, a couple things. VA Casting Club is a decent place to start online as you look for audition opportunities that are available to people who aren't signed. Community theater and online indie projects are a great way to flush out your resume. Once you have a page-long resume, make a demo reel, pay good money for it, 1 minute long, and then you want to get an agent, and agents are just the best way to start getting studio auditions, in my opinion. And you send out a lot of emails to a lot of people, and you don't expect them to message back. You forget you ever did it.
That's very important, actually. The thing is, we audition. I audition, if I'm lucky, on a busy week with VO alone. My LA agent will send me 20 auditions. If I book one of those auditions in that week, oh man, I'm winning. I'm on fire.
And that's
if
like,
I book one that month, I'm winning.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get the rejection. Honestly, I just expect it. Even with my confidence, I just expect it. And I'm very happily surprised when I book anything. And frankly, it's a numbers game at some point. Like, even with experience, even with 20-something years in it, it's still a numbers game. It's kind of crazy.
There's also, like, on the other side of things that and I know we're giving you so much information now. The other thing too is, like, when you're on the other side, and I haven't personally been, but I have friends, and we all have friends like who are on the casting director side or this or that, you realize it's also not necessarily just about you. Sometimes when they're putting together a cast, they're like, well, I need to make all of these feel like they connect together. It's like it's like a weird puzzle sometimes, and sometimes you're the right piece they need, and sometimes they need something that's slightly different, and you still may have been phenomenal in your audition or whatever, and sometimes that stuff leads to the next job anyway.
That's right. No, sometimes you're right for 3 projects from that project for that casting director.
I booked Rhodey from My Hero. I got because I read for the villains in the Meta Liberation part in season 5, and then
she remembered what you sounded like in one of your. Yeah, I've also had it happen where I auditioned for 2 characters, and I book it, and I don't know what I've booked, and I get in there, and I start doing the voice that I did for the character I booked, and they're like, no, we liked the voice that you used for the other character.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I've had that happen many times, actually.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's a weird puzzle how it works, but
mainly, you can't give up.
Yes.
Like, never give up. Never surrender.
There we go.
I mean it. Like I can count on half of one hand the friends that I have who I went to theater school with who are still in this business. People fall off. It is hard.
Yeah.
And people give up. You can't.
You have
Like,
to
that's the-
have a really thick emotional skin because so much of it isn't personal and it can feel like it is if you let yourself. So like it's really important to understand this. The entertainment industry is crazy. Like it's crazy. We all love it, but it is.
Not all the time. Sometimes.
Yeah. So like we love the creative part of it, but it's a madhouse. So you have to prepare yourself not just as a performer but as a person.
Awesome.
Thank
Great
you for your question.
Best of luck. So we only have time for one more question.
We really just diatribed.
Sorry, guys. We
No,
answered that
it's
question
okay.
for half the time.
It's fine. It
Hope
was
there are a
great
lot of
advice.
potential actors in the audience.
Yes. All right. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Alexis, and my question is, out of all the characters you've voiced so far, what has been your absolute favorite to do?
I think we kind of.
I mean, mine's the obvious answer. It's Denji.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'll be obvious. Mine is Senku from Dr. Stone.
I've got a bit of a toss-up answer. There's two shows that I worked on. I was the lead in a show called Darker Than Black.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is the closest I've ever come to playing Batman, and I was directed by Zach Bolton, who no longer directs, but he was a really good director. Former engineer turned director. Turned out he was really, really good at it, and really, really good at getting natural performances, which at the time in anime was not as common. And then the other one is a show that Mike McFarlane directed. That's called Eden of the East. Eden of the East, I was co-leads with Leah Clark, who voices Toga in My Hero. But I often say that show, well, I recommend it highly. It is not a big commitment. It's not many episodes. It's a couple OVAs. But nobody has weird powers. It's not super cartoony. It would lend itself most readily to a live-action miniseries if one were to be made. It's also the only anime I've ever worked on that has an actual Martin Scorsese Taxi Driver reference in it.
Yes.
My character does the "you talking to me" scene in the mirror, like, "you talking to me?" Like, I mean, man.
Which was also improv in Taxi Driver.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That was improv too. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
This has been such a delight. You guys are so amazing. I wish we had more time. And I guess if it's okay with you guys, we're going to take a big group picture with everybody.
Yeah, why not?
So if
Thank you guys so much for being here.